Reddit, what are some deep dark secrets your family members tried to hide from you, but you found out anyway? Please do like, comment and subscribe for more juicy content. My mom poisoned me on at least 3 or 4 different occasions. On purpose. She would usually undercook some food hoping I would die of food poisoning, I'm guessing. No idea if she added anything. I got suspicious when I ate some salmonella chicken. I was young, and starving, and later overheard her telling my brother not to eat them, and that they were for me. She made a big batch of chicken, as she usually does. Some pieces seemed fine, so I ate them, and not the funny-smelling ones. Still got sick, but I got better. According to my uncle, on his deathbed, he claimed to have walked into the house with my father to find her drowning me in the tub. Then there was that one time she almost shot me. That was an accident though. I was chasing my dog because he got off the chain, and rounded a corner just as she fired. We was outside, the dog ran down the street, the bullet hit a tree a few feet away from me. We caught him later, and she shot him anyway, and told me he died of fleas. I had to bury his bleeding corpse. My dad is a douche who fucks his sister. When I was 17, my family finally decided to break it to me that my birth was the result of my mother cheating on my dad, that my dad bailed on me when I was 8 because he found out that he was born sterile so it was impossible for me to be his, and that I am darker than everyone in my white family because I'm actually half Filipino. My grandma and step-grandpa had eloped long before their actual wedding ceremony. Apparently neither of their families wanted them to get married because of a difference of race. My grandma was Filipino, and my step-grandpa was white, so they waited a couple of years for everyone to approve. After my grandma passed away, I had to go through her things, and found their certificate of marriage from Vegas which was certified over a year before the actual day they got married with friends and family as witnesses. I had asked my parents about it, and they had no idea, apparently neither did anyone else in the family. It doesn't seem like such a dark secret now, but since they kept it to themselves, and took it to their graves, it must have been a pretty big deal to them. It's mostly just a sweet story to me, and as someone who had lost all faith in romance, it was kind of encouraging. I may have 2 or 3 dead older brothers. I really don't know any more about it beyond that, as literally nobody in my family will talk about it with me. All I know is my grandmother on my mom's side has a picture sitting in the frame of a mirror that hangs on the wall of her house. This picture is of my grandmother, and 2 boys who were between 5 to 8 years old that I'd never met or heard anybody talk about. The picture had always been in that exact location as long as I could remember. One day when I was young I was at her house, and happened to be looking at the picture while my grandmother was in the next room. She came in to see what I was doing since I had gotten quiet, and I asked her who the kids were in the picture with her. She told me they were my brothers, and that there was a third who wasn't in the picture. I then, thinking I had 3 older brothers, excitedly asked her where they were, and why I had never met them. She just walked away, and ignored the question. Any attempts after that to ask her or anybody else about the picture or the kids in it has been ignored in the same manner. I kinda gave up asking since even my parents would ignore it. Edit, to everybody saying I should dig deeper, there's a reason I don't want to. More than likely they died in a car accident caused by my alcoholic father that nearly left my mom paralyzed from the neck down. All she's ever told me about it is that it happened in her mid to late 20s, that her and my dad were in the car, my dad was drunk driving, and they had an accident. She woke up in the hospital unable to move with the doctors saying she'd probably be that way the rest of her life. The next morning when she awoke she found that she was able to move normally, but that her neck hurt like hell. To this day her neck still hurts, and when viewed from behind it almost appears as if one of her neck vertebrae was spun 90 degrees. Any doctor she's gone to has said the only cure would be to fuse the vertebrae, and she'd rather keep her range of motion, and deal with the pain than have part of her neck fused. While it might be nice to know more about the lost brothers, if my inference is correct then I'd rather not force my mom to relive the possibility of her losing them thanks to my drunken prick of a father's carelessness. He's already put her in permanent pain, I don't wish to add to it. My uncle was a huge drug dealer, and banking major money. He ended up getting killed by some cartel when I was 9. Family told me he died fishing. I was talking to my mom, and somehow we go to the topic of why I've never met anyone from her family. She explained that her older brother tried to rape her on several occasions and her mom and dad remained in denial about it, even in the face of evidence, forever after. She never told anyone else about it after her parents blew her off, including my dad. When I was 17, my family finally decided to break it to me that my birth was the result of my mother cheating on my dad, that my dad bailed on me when I was 8 because he found out that he was born sterile, so it was impossible for me to be his, and that I am darker than everyone in my white family because I'm actually half Filipino. When I was 18 I found out by accident that my mother was a meth user. Hit me hard like a truck, and about 3 weeks after I found out the depression was too intense to carry. So I sit down, and talk to my grandmother. As soon as my mouth opens my throat tightened up, and the floodgates opened. I finally got it all out and asked. She was stunned. I didn't know, but I thought the way she had acted all my life was normal. My grandmother then tells me that my dad used it just as much. My dad died when I was 2, and I never knew him, especially that he was addicted to such a serious drug. Lastly, I've also learned that one of my 2 uncles is a frequent meth user. At least I know I will never touch that shit. One of my grandfathers ran a brothel in El Salvador. He was murdered in Texas and one of his lesbian daughters now runs that same brothel. When I visited El Salvador as a kid, my mom told me to avoid a particular street on the eastern part of town. It wasn't until a couple of years ago that she told me why. Secret family in Japan. Apparently, my American dad left the army having unwittingly impregnated his Japanese GF. She sent a letter but my grandma intercepted it, and tore it up. He didn't find out for years. Now there's a whole mess of half Jewish, half Japanese folks related to me.